Welcome to Legal Nurse Podcast. This is your spot to get inspiration, tips, stories, and guidance to help you in your legal nurse consulting practice. I'm Pat Iyer, the host of Legal Nurse Podcast since 2016. We are among the top 5% of all podcasts in the world in terms of longevity and sharing information consistently week after week with legal nurse consultants. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, this is Pat Iyer, and welcome back to the Legal Nurse Podcast. In today's episode, we're talking about one of the most important yet most overlooked parts of your legal nurse consulting business, your mindset. This isn't fluff. It's the difference between staying in business, staying stuck, and gaining traction. If you've ever questioned whether you're cut out for this work or wondering what's holding you back, this episode is for you. Let's get started. Let's start with the familiar picture. You've discovered legal nurse consulting. You feel excited, maybe even relieved. You've been longing for something different from the hospital shifts, endless charting, and staff shortages. The idea of becoming your own boss, setting your own hours, and using your clinical skills in a new way lights you up. You think, I can do this. But somewhere between enthusiasm and execution, doubt creeps in. You start asking yourself, what if I'm not ready? What if I don't know enough? What if no one hires me? The truth is, this isn't about your education. It's not about the economy. It's not about the competition or your resume. What often stops legal nurse consultants in their tracks is mindset. And here's why that matters. Mindset shapes your reality. It influences what you believe is possible, how you present yourself to attorneys, how you handle setbacks, and how long you stick with this journey. You may have every resource at your fingertips, courses, books, coaches, but if your mindset isn't aligned with growth and persistence, it's going to be hard to move forward. Let's talk about some of the most common internal barriers that stop LNCs from success. One is self-doubt. It shows up as, I'm not experienced enough, or I can't market myself. This kind of thinking quickly spirals into procrastination, perfectionism, or paralysis. Another is fear of rejection. You might hesitate to call on an attorney or send that follow-up email because you fear the no. But attorneys aren't rejecting you as a person. Maybe they've already have somebody. Maybe they don't need help right now. That no is about timing, not about your value. Then there's the issue of validation. If you're constantly waiting for someone else to tell you you're doing a good job, entrepreneurship is going to feel rough. The only validation that really counts in business is the kind you give yourself, especially in the early stages, when external feedback might be scarce. The good news is all of these patterns can change, but it starts with awareness. Ask yourself this: what story are you telling yourself about your ability to succeed? Maybe you're saying, I don't have time. But is that the whole truth? Or are you avoiding discomfort, like the discomfort of starting something new or facing the fear of making a mistake? A story may sound like, I can't market myself. I'm just not good at sales. But remember this, marketing isn't about being pushy, it's about solving problems. When you share how you help attorneys understand medical records or evaluate standards of care, you're providing a service. So what traits help an LNC succeed? It's not just about intelligence or clinical experience, though those are helpful traits. It's traits like resilience and tenacity, a belief in your ability to figure out things and willingness to take risks, calculated risks. This is why mindset is more than motivational talk. It's foundational. The most successful legal nurse consultants know this. Let me give you a real example. I remember my early days vividly. I spent a lot of money exhibiting at a local attorney's conference. It was filled with my ideal clients. I had my booth ready, I had materials, and I waited nervously. I was just getting started and I didn't feel ready. I feared being exposed as inexperienced. But then I met one attorney, just one. That connection led to substantial work, so much that it paid for my son's Ivy League college education. If I had let fear control my reactions, that opportunity would have passed. That's the thing about mindset. It influences what you notice, what you act on, and what you believe is possible. There's a popular phrase, you become what you think about. That's not just philosophy, it's a strategy. If you spend your day thinking, I don't know enough, you'll act accordingly. You'll hesitate to send marketing materials. You'll hold off on making calls. You might even stop yourself from saying yes to a case you're capable of handling. On the flip side, if your mindset is, I'm learning and growing every day, you'll give yourself permission to try, to experiment, to move. Now, let's talk about a big trap, perfectionism. It's especially common among nurses. We are trained to avoid mistakes, double-check everything, and follow protocol. But in business, perfectionism can become an inability. It can become perfectionism. It often masks fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of not being good enough. I spent 40 hours perfecting a sample report. I indexed it, I tabbed it, I added references, I did everything to that. But it became a way to stay busy instead of reaching out to potential clients. That's procrastination disguised as productivity. The truth? Attorneys care more about your ability to meet deadlines and communicate clearly than whether your work sample is museum ready. So ask yourself, are you working on the right things, or are you perfecting projects as a way to avoid marketing? Another issue that quickly destroys momentum is self-sabotage. It shows up as binge-watching videos, replying to emails instead of doing outreach, or endlessly tweaking your website. It's the voice in your head that says, once everything's perfect, I'll start. That voice is lying to you. You don't need perfect. You need consistent action. Now let's look at external influences. Family and friends can be unintentionally discouraging. Maybe your spouse questions why you're starting a business. Maybe a coworker laughs. When you say you want to work with attorneys, here's the truth. Not everyone will understand your vision, and that's okay. It's not their business, it's yours. In one case, a legal nurse consultant's husband convinced her she didn't have what it took to run a business. His doubts stemmed from his own fears. She ended up turning down an opportunity to buy an existing LNC business, and later she regretted it. So be careful whose voices you internalize. Seek support from those who've walked this path. That might mean joining a mastermind, working with a coach, or connecting with other LNCs who are serious about growth. This brings us to an important distinction, the concept of locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe they can influence outcomes through their efforts, learning, and strategies. Those with an external locus of control believe things happen to them. They're at the mercy of fate or systems or other people. Entrepreneurs especially are successful ones. They tend to have an internal locus of control. They believe they can learn skills, shift strategies, and get better with time. Which camp are you in? Are you waiting for permission, or are you choosing to act? And let's not ignore risk. Starting a business carries risk. You're putting yourself out there. You might spend money on marketing or courses that don't have immediate payoff. You might make mistakes. You will feel uncomfortable, but that's another risk. The risk of staying where you are. Ask yourself, what does my current nursing job cost me? Time with family? Physical health? Emotional stress? Missed opportunities? Choosing legal nurse consulting is not just a professional decision. It's a personal one. You're saying you want more control over your life. I want to use my skills in a meaningful way. I want to grow. The path forward requires courage, but not recklessness. Start small. Keep your job if needed. Build gradually. Learn from those who've done it before. That's how many successful LNCs got started. So how do you shift your mindset? Start by identifying the thoughts that hold you back. I can't market myself. I'm too old. I don't know how to find clients. Replace these with, I'm learning to market. My experience is valuable. I'm figuring this out. Small shifts lead to big changes. And the more you act from a place of belief, the more confident you become. Mind shift and mindset isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily practice. Let me leave you with a few reflective questions. Why do you want to start or grow your legal nurse consulting business? What does success look like to you? What thought or belief do you need to let go to move forward? Your answers to these questions matter more than you think. And if you found this episode helpful and want to go deeper into the strategic stories, tips and techniques and insights that I shared here, I encourage you to get a copy of my book, co-authored with Sylvia Anenyi. It is Legal Nurse Consulting Success, Volume 1. You'll find even more guidance on how to start, how to grow, and how to thrive as a legal nurse consultant, based on the real-world experiences of those who've done it. Go to http://lnc.tips/creating series to order your copy. That's Legal Nurse Consulting Success, Volume 1, available now. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Coming up next on Legal Nurse Podcast, we're going to focus on an area that gives rise to a lot of litigation, and that is what happens within the walls of the labor and delivery room suite. Our next speaker is an expert witness and is well qualified, both working full-time, certified in fetal monitoring, an instructor in fetal monitoring, has a master's degree in nursing, and extensive experience reviewing cases as an expert witness. Maureen Elia is our next guest, and I'm going to ask you, Maureen, if you could share with our listener or our viewer, what are some of the topics that we covered in your podcast?
Today we talked a little bit about what exactly is fetal monitoring, how we determine the categories of fetal monitoring, and where exactly those categories came from, who developed them. Within those categories, what do we do about it? How do we interpret them? What are the interventions? And what are the implications of those categories? And then finally, we hit on, within those categories, what do I as a legal nurse see happening within the cases I review?
We've just finished a fascinating discussion, and because OB cases are very frequent in our malpractice system, this is a podcast that you need to watch. Coming up next on Legal Nurse Podcast.